Welcome to our second Wave the Brush here at Adepticon. And as usual, I leave myself completely open to you guys as far as where this goes. I do this show, they know, but I'll explain to you. I do this show, basically a show every Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Twitch. And basically every week I just take questions and answer everybody's painting questions, be wargaming or painting or terrain, what have you. We usually delve into a lot of, off topic, and so that most likely is not going to happen here, but we may go off talking about other random crap. But again, this is the main purpose is to help answer some of the burning questions that have been, plaguing you or, what have you. And of course, it goes for everybody as well. And so again, welcome. And is there anything right off the hop that anybody, I'm sorry, I forgot your name?
Tim.
Tim? Okay. Well, welcome, Tim. The rest of these fellows, I'm sure can introduce themselves. I was playing around with the new Abaddon. Where is it? Where is he at here? Let's see if we can get some proper light going here. And yeah, that's great. Good job. Good job. Oh, that light is horrible.
Yeah, you had better light.
You gotta get the spotlights that are in here focused on you.
Yeah. No, those lights won't move.
But
yeah, so the gold, what I did there was initially I was going to use Vallejo liquid gold. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yes.
I didn't care for how it was looking on the model's surface, so I started using. Wait, almost took up the camera. Gotta keep it closer.
I do have to say a quick comment about the Abaddon. It reminds me a lot of how he would look if he was on like the cover art of one of the Horus Heresy novels.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So I was using this for that gold. Yeah, Liquitex iridescent bright gold. And yeah, it's just an ink, and it works really, really well. You do have to apply it in a few layers, but otherwise it just goes on just nicely, nice and smooth. I have been playing a lot with inks lately because I've been doing a lot of pre-shading and things like that, and so I've just been getting really into, because basically when you're doing pre-shades, right, you typically the train of thought is you start off with a black prime, and then you lay another gray, and typically people will lay like a gray primer, and then you lay white, and so that's like 3 layers of primer you're laying on your model, and then laying more paint on top of that just really kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a lot of layers of paint sitting on a surface, right? So I have been getting inks and things like that. But normally whenever I do the pre-shade, I only ever do a black prime and then use a gray paint and then a white paint, and then I like to use clear colors, and a lot of the inks are very translucent, and so it allows those lighter tones to play through it. And it's kind of like it's like as soon as you get that pre-shade done, lay your one color on top and you're done, and so it's really fantastic. I think it's really, really fun. But anyway, yeah, so I'll just start with you, Tim.
Right.
Do you have a question?
Well, kind of a hobby trending question.
Sure.
Non-metal metallic paints, where it's supposed to be metal but it's not actually metallic. Do you see that as a trend?
As a trend, yes and no. For the most part, it will be here around for a long time, and it is one of those things that a lot of people struggle with. But because the upward trend of it right now is that there's so many people and there's a lot of classes being taught on it, that we're going to see a lot more people employing that technique.
Right.
But then again, you know what I mean? Like then afterwards, it really does come down to the mastery of the painter, getting it down, getting the smooth transitions. And of course, really, a lot of people, when they're getting into like non-metallic metal, they are often imitating other artists that they're seeing. So like, for example, we see like, James, do a non-metallic metal. And so then it's, oh, I want to do the non-metallic metal just like him. And so you end up imitating what he's doing. But really, what you should be doing is looking at artwork and other things and other examples of non-metallic sources, or even looking at pictures of like actual armor and try and emulate that. And that will keep you from trying to imitate those styles, because you're not properly understanding what techniques and why their use of color is as it is. And so, you know, it can end up stymieing yourself in the long run. So, but as far as being a fad, a long time ago, a lot of people thought like airbrushing was going to be, a lot of people consider airbrushing cheating, right? And then also now it's kind of the norm. So as far as non-metallic metals, it's a particular type of technique. Techniques like Mike Cousins, he does Epic Duck Mike. He does a cel-shaded. He's been really kind of championing that technique. There's a lot of other painters who do it, and that you know, that could possibly become a trend 5 years down the line. A lot of people are just doing cel-shaded, right? Because it does require a certain amount of control to create slight blends in the shadows while creating stark highlights and, you know, getting that proper look to make it look like something artificial. But the thing I often have a trouble with non-metallic metals is that it only really works well for photography. You know, when you're looking at the model in a fixed position, rather than say like true metallics, where, you know, it relies on all the ambient light and it gives you all that light sourcing and stuff like that. Now you can of course edge metallics just to kind of help things along, but otherwise you're relying on the ambient light to play on that surface and, you know, give you all your richness, right?
Right.
So it's here and it'll be around. Is it a fad? I mean, yes and no. It's been around. Non-metallic metals has become really popular in the last like 3-4 years. It seems like,
yeah, I've noticed it's picked up in popularity, but when I first started, it was, you know, just doing metallics, getting the shading right to make sure, like you said, armor. Kind of looking at armor, saying, okay, well, if it's all metal, it should, even when the light hits it, and it's not. You know, if you've got it shaded properly, the light's going to refract off of it the way it should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like when you're looking at non-metallic metal examples on the internet of people's models, and you're seeing how like light is playing and stuff like that, and if you try and imitate it, you only end up imitating what they've done and not really understanding the theory that they were using to employ where they were putting highlights and shadows and stuff like that. And so you really, for you as a novice, and of course it goes for everybody, right? Everybody who's a novice at this, to look to the source material. Always go to the source for your information. Don't just imitate what somebody else has done, because it's kind of like copying the answers off somebody else's test kind of thing, right? It's, you know, you're going to make the same mistakes. If they don't know what they've done and then you're trying to copy what they're doing, you're not really learning either. But if you look at examples of armor and, you know, how light plays and how shadows and how things are reflected, and of course also with non-metallic metals, even, you know, what if you're looking for a really high glossy looking shiny armor, reflective, or if it's kind of like a matte burnished kind of look, you know, of course, you know, those are also dependent on, you know, skill and, you know, how much color you're laying down and, you know, those kind of things, right? But yeah, it's going to be around for a long time. As long as we're taking pictures of our models, there are going to be lots of people, you know, doing that particular technique. But good question though. Anything else? Anybody?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay, lay it on me.
What do you think about the whole thing that Games Workshop was doing with a lot of the game kits, like Blackstone Fortress and the Kill Team starter box, where it was like the sprues were painted the primary colors of the factions? What do you think about doing stuff where it's like just keeping them that color, but still like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, say, for me with the Reavers they were in the Space Wolf blue, so I didn't really paint over them in Space Wolf blue. I kind of just did all the details and like the fine little things like that.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So you left the bare plastic.
Yeah.
But then you picked out the other stuff in a color. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. For tabletop, I mean, if you were going for display, obviously you'd want to spend more time on the paint job, right?
These are just for like tabletop.
But if you're just getting it done for tabletop, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think in those kind of instances where you want to preserve the color of the plastic, give it like a matte spray so that acts like a clear primer, and then you can go ahead and apply your paints. That way you're not struggling to try and put down color on top of bare plastic, because you know it'll always, you know, bubble back up again. And so if you have that matte spray down, not heavily of course, but just, you know, enough to give it a nice prime, and then you start applying the color on top of, you know, like the leather and, you know, the flesh and what have you. And yeah.
It's strange because like the plastic's still kind of, you can still shade it too.
Sure, yeah. Well, and if you had applied like a matte varnish over it all, yeah, you still could do all your painting effects and just let that color work for you, you know. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, definitely, if you give it a try, send me some pictures, because, you know.
No, I was gonna say, I think I might have, but I have done it a couple times already.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
My kill team list of reavers and one guy from the Space Marine Heroes box so far.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, like I said, it's yeah, if you were going for you know, any kind of display standard or anything like that, yeah, you'd obviously want to spend more time on, you know, creating layers, transitions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if it's tabletop, yeah, why not? And if it gets you through the models really fast, then, you know what I mean, and gets you to a tabletop standard, yeah, why not? Yeah, so I was shopping today, and I went to Blick, because that's what fires me up. It's art supplies. So, in the coming days, I got Bob Ross Band-Aids. Were there Band-Aids, honey?
Yeah.
Band-Aids?
I just had to have this.
So Bob Ross Band-Aids. Apparently that's a thing.
Can I show it to the camera?
I've never seen those before.
I would call it a happy accident when I cut my thumb open. It's in there, and I've done that with the hobby knife.
Yeah.
You know the day that I
Just
did
a happy
Bob
little
Ross
mistake,
bandages.
it. was not a happy little mistake. Sorry, Bob. But,
Callus built it.
yeah.
It's
So-
like the same when I accidentally got bitten glass in my wrist.
I picked up, and I'm probably gonna give it a try right now, I suppose. But I picked up these metallic inks, because again, I've been using the metallics on Abaddon.
I see they're not droppers though.
What's that?
I see they're not droppers.
No, they're not droppers,
If you transfer DPS.
but like they're pretty fluid. Well, I think this is the extender. Yeah, it's the extender. I was like, why is that changing color? First pick of a palette.
It's a healthy looking palette.
Yeah, that's a big boy palette.
Big boy palette. Well, because I gotta get back. Chris has got to get back to painting his canvases and stuff.
So can you see you painting like Bob Ross style, just standing here painting the Abaddon?
I might. You laugh. I might be doing it.
I want to see that. We're gonna make some smiles there on Abaddon, like you just crushed Gilman.
Alright, now that you pulled out all these wonderful inks, if I wanted to get started with inks, what would you recommend?
If you wanted to get
Because
started,
I've been considering it
It sounds like a
gently,
good idea.
but I only have so much money.
okay.
What's a
You should
cheap
have
idea?
inks that are purely crap because he's never tried them yet.
Also,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
That is true.
Yeah. Well,
it's a
these
dice roll, but
I just picked these up at Blick. These were only what, $6 a piece? Huh?
yeah, it's like 6.
They were
whatever
$6.
Michael said.
Michael says some inks. Yeah.
And I mean,
Wait, Michael
they
said?
feel like they got a bit of body
Some
to them.
inks.
So, but I don't know. I don't even know if they're water based or if they are alcohol based. I don't even know.
Yeah, I picked up some from Army Painter based on some friend recommendations, and they seem to be really good.
Because when I was in Vegas, I took a couple classes there, and I can't remember which of the artists we were using
Oh, that's cool.
black and white inks to lay on top for banners, basically freehanding basic symbols, and they recommended using inks because of their high opacity
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause it's pretty much just
and their
like-
ability to lay on top of other colors without showing through. Because as we know, white, at least in my experience, has been a very difficult color as an
Yeah.
acrylic paint.
Mhm.
From numerous lines, I've had problems with whites chunking up and not necessarily coming through with a really good viscosity or coverage. So,
A really good white
hmm
is these high flow lines. If you want to stay within acrylic paints,
yeah,
I really like these high flow colors. Now these are about $6-7 a piece for a 1 ounce bottle. They sell them in bigger bottles, but they're like $15. But like you get like it's like a 4 ounce bottle. A lot of paint, great in the airbrush. You don't have to thin them. You can thin them, but and turning them into shade washes work great.
awesome.
Yeah, I love high flow colors. These colors are just freaking great. But as far as inks are concerned, then yeah, why not jump into Liquitex white
Okay.
golds? I've also been using FWs And
I think it was FWs that we were using then, but I try and keep an open mind about these things.
yeah, because with Abaddon here, I laid down, and I don't think I have my bottle here, and I think I going through this last time. I used Mission Models is the paint line, and so far, like playing with their paints has been really fantastic. Gloss Black Prime, Stano Res Gloss Black. Then laid Mission Models cold rolled steel, I believe was what the color's called, and it's this dark metallic, like it's like you can kind of see like
So you see a little bit of almost like a blue tone to it.
well, there shouldn't be any blue. That might be the monitor.
Maybe.
There's no blue.
Probably.
Yeah, it's probably the blue light coming off the
Like
monitor.
silver.
Yeah, like on his shoulder pad is untouched. Yeah, that's got to be the monitor casting that kind of haze to it. There, go back over here.
It's a blue haze.
But anywho, so what I did was I laid that, and it lays nice and smooth, of course, with the gloss black underneath. And then I started taking the black ink, and then creating a fade, going with the brighter silver at the bottom, and then pushing darkness up. Then added a little bit of white to the black, giving me a dark gray, and then created like this mottled appearance. You can kind of see right about there, closer to the gold trim of his collar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a slight little graying in there.
Yeah.
And so, just started laying that down. You can kind of see, it's like, it's hard to see, and especially because this,
See almost a line, kind of like a half and half. Like you can see one bit's a little bit lighter.
yeah, like on the chest here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like here, you know what? Oh, Rob, pass him over there. You can let us have a look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so basically all I did was I laid the
Should I
metal
pass it
down.
around or just pass it back?
If you want, yeah. If you want, have a look.
Be very careful.
Yeah. Just his head is the only thing I've really spent any time on. The head was about an hour of work. Everything else, the armor was fairly quick. I mean, like I'm just trying to get him to a decent tabletop standard. I'm not looking, to enter him into any kind of
It's supposed to
competition.
be tabletop standard. I think I'm doing it wrong.
For your flesh washing, or for your flesh colors, do you mix in your inks within your flesh colors?
Sometimes it all depends, because basically, like for example, like with these inks, they'll mix with water-based acrylics just fine. Because when you look at the label on these things, and I didn't realize until I was actually looking at the label, but I was already doing it and not even thinking. But yeah, these are acrylic ink.
Okay.
So typically acrylic ink, I mean, as long as it doesn't have a chemical smell, which would be like an alcohol base, kind of like Tamiya, if you've ever played with Tamiya colors.
Yes.
Tamiyas are alcohol-based acrylics, so they tend to be a little harsher. And,
Thank you.
But I found that, yeah, I could just easily mix these colors in with, with these colors or the Citadel colors or, what have you, right? And so it seemed to work out just fine. Like another way, if you're, say for example, you're painting entirely within, say, Citadel colors, and you want to thin out, say, for example, Abaddon Black, simply take Null oil and add a drop or two to your mixture, and you'll thin down your Abaddon Black, but you'll still keep that saturation because the Null oil won't degrade the color, right? And so you'll keep a nice rich black, even though you've thinned it down quite a bit, right? So yeah, that's another fun one. It only really works with the Abaddon Black because there's no white version, right, within Citadel.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there's no white like shade colors or anything like that, like
How would that even work?
white shading.
We don't have to making a shade wash, right? We're just using a mixture of medium and flow aid on.
Sure, you could do it like I could easily take Liquitex Fluid and a couple drops of extender and make that into a shade wash. And,
I'm wondering though, like, what would you even use a white shade on?
if you were gonna,
Parchment, maybe.
sure, yeah.
Maybe parchment.
If you were gonna go for example, you wanted to create like a glow. I've used it on Age of Sigmar models for like the big ribbons on the Stormcast dudes, and I'll use it on their they
The
have
smoke stuff
runes.
coming off it?
Well, how the runes are kind of like inscribed in.
Yeah.
And I'll use that ink just right over, and it creeps right all into everything, and I don't have to worry about anything. And then,
That's always really good if you want to do a glowing effect.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So if you wanted the white, in hindsight, like you were painting and you're like, oh, I really wanted that white in there, and just turn your white into a shade wash, or even get into like those little runes, and it'll just You know, one of the big things I always recommend for everybody out there is Liquitex Fluid. It's one of my favorite things to have in, you know, your arsenal as you're working, because basically it gives you the freedom to change any color into a shade wash, or to a, you know, make it a wash that'll creep into all your details and, you know, things of that nature. And yeah, I'm trying to think what other benefits of using it.
It lasts forever too.
And it does last you forever. $10 on a big old bottle. What is it's like a 4-ounce bottle?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I filled this up. Now this is in here is Flowy, but I mean, like, I filled that up once. I mean, it's only about a third of the way down, and I bought this bottle 4 years ago.
So, Chris, I have a question about your Adepticon, actually.
Sure.
What are you thinking about making as the Space Marine he's stepping on? Like, what chapter?
I was thinking of doing it in Blood Angel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna do it in red.
Are you thinking about that because of all the rumors going around that, like, Dante and the Blood Angel is supposed to be coming to Vigilus soon?
No, because because his hair is gonna be red,
Yeah.
or is red, I should say. He's going to be. He already is. I haven't I have the guy all in sub-assemblies here, like he's all in parts, and just in here, yeah, because I already have his hair painted.
I guess you decided not to go with your original colors of green?
Yeah, no, I decided against that. Where is he? Yeah. And that was using Citadel colors, and then I used, I don't have the ink here, but it was a red ink on top. And the ink was almost like, you know, the clear dyes, and it just was perfectly clear, dried right on top. It leaves a slight gloss, but I'm not too worried about gloss finishes, because if you want it matte afterwards, you can always come back over it with a matte. Whereas building up to a gloss is on top of a matte is always kind of a pain. So, yeah.
Now, as far as your washing, what's the difference really between just using a wash and pin washing?
The washing and pin washing is really kind of control, because when you're doing the pin washing, because pin washing is kind of, it's pretty much the same thing. When you're doing it with, say, with oil, because when we're talking about pin washes, right, it's usually with oil paint, right? And when you're doing just like, say, with a wash, it's often with Liquitex Fluid, it's often with acrylic paints, or, you know, the acrylic inks, and, you know, water-based acrylics, I should clarify. And that's typically it. Now, of course, within the acrylic range, we often refer to recess shade, and that's kind of like the pin washes, right? Where you're being very deliberate, you're just leaving it around things. You could wipe it off if you want, because the drying time is slowed down a little bit, but otherwise, you know, it's kind of just applied and you just let it creep, right? Whereas oftentimes with pin washes, you're laying that oil paint down to fall within the recess, and then of course you come in with like alcohol or mineral spirits, and you just quickly wipe the excess off, and you have your perfectly clean line, right? Yeah, so it's really just, I guess, the name. It's a similar process, but the name for two different material really is what you're using, right? Because it's one is oil based, one is water based, right? Yeah.
I was a little confused back. I was at a Japanese Zero that I'd painted and put the wash down over it to creep into the panel lines. Over then my buddy come back and said, it looks good, but you need to pin wash it. And I was like, I thought that's what I just do, put in all these little recesses, but so that's why I was curious.
Yeah. Now, before you pin washed it, did you varnish it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I went
Because.
back with an old coat over it after I got done. With
Oh,
the
okay.
wash.
Yeah. Because typically when you're going to do the oil wash, yeah, you want to have that nice smooth surface, right? So that when you, and of course, everything you've created underneath is protected, because oftentimes that to do the pin wash, right, requires you to use some sort of solvent and to wipe that excess off, and sometimes you don't want to end up wiping, you know, a good paint job or color transition, or, you know, things of that nature, right? Oftentimes you don't want to have that occur, right? So yeah. Yeah, so now that I know that these are water-based acrylics, I am going to play a moment. Anything else anybody's got thoughts on?
Have you found, like, what's the best way to highlight, like, the Turbodork colored metallics?
The colored metallics or the color shift metallics?
Just the colored.
Just the colored metallics? The colored metallics,
Because I don't really want to lose that metallic feel. Should I be going with like silvers and golds to do it, or?
Well, for example, like if you were going in, say, with like a metallic blue, right?
Okay.
And they have, what the hell's that called?
Oh, they have Cool Ranch and
It's a
Doritos.
yeah,
And I love the turbo dork names.
Dava D or something like that.
yeah, Davide is
Two ways.
it's a really dark blue, but they have one that is a turquoise. It's a really fantastic color. I can't remember what the hell the name is. Anyway,
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. I don't
Oh,
remember
wait.
which one it is though.
never mind. I brought them.
Oh,
Da-da-da.
Here I am.
You come prepared. 'Cause
Sometimes.
I was actually asking
Cool
about
Ranch
turbo dorks
Davide.
yesterday.
Curacao, that's what it is, and it's a metallic turquoise. Yeah, here you can pass that down. I don't think it's open
that's a
though,
really
but
nice color.
I will say Turbo Dork's colors are. I just got them from Mitchell. He just sent me a bunch of the new ones, and they look like they'll be all sorts of fun. I just
so
haven't
far,
had the chance to open them since I got them on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think I went across to pick them up from the States. Yeah, so I got like the white, the red, a bunch of the new metallic colors that Turbo Dork just came out with, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they lay, especially the white metallic.
yeah. Well, the white metallic that one is somewhat similar to Skill 75's White Alchemy.
Okay.
So that's a white metallic, and Turbo Dork, I'm sure, is probably by side comparison is probably more metallic-y.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I have not done a side by side, so I can't say 100%, but I'd imagine because Turbo Dork, these metallics have been really, really lustrous, right? And as far as how much light bounces back at you, right? And so, yeah. To answer your question about highlighting and shading of it, say for example, the regular blue, you could, for example, use any of the darker metals and add that.
Okay.
Or you could use, if you're going to use the shade washes, like say, for example, any of the Citadel shade washes, use the gloss.
Yeah.
So use like Null Oil or Agrax or shade gloss.
Okay.
And, you know, do it in sort of a glazing technique where you're pushing the color towards where you want the color to build and get darker.
Okay.
So like, for example, like a Space Marine's like leg pad, right? And you want the shadows to go downwards and you have the whole thing as metallic blue. Use the shade wash, but push the color, finish your brush stroke downward.
Okay.
And allow the color to build down that way. And use the gloss, because when you add the matte, that oftentimes will kill the metallic shine.
Yeah.
And so it's often with metallics, you want to finish off gloss, give it a gloss varnish. If you want it matte afterwards, you can always matte it afterwards. But if you've matted it, and then you want to say, oh, you know what, I really want it to be gloss, and you try to throw gloss on it, it won't come back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and as far as highlighting, yeah, you can use like it's what white.
I know, like most of my guys are the Cool Ranch, so I didn't know if there was like
Yeah.
a higher one to do.
Well, for shading, I mean, like Aaron was at the big game last night. He did his night, and he used Cool Ranch, and he used Minotaur's, I think it was Plasma Fluid.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a really rich cyan.
Was that the reddish looking color that was on there as well?
No, it's the blue portions of his armor,
Oh.
of his knight, because his knight was red and blue. And he just made that Cool Ranch even deeper blue, but it was still like, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a rich blue metallic. It was like a car. And then he finished it off with a gloss varnish.
Yeah.
And, you know, it looked really, really great. And then, of course, he used the red. He used, what was it? What's the red? I've got the freaking colors in front of me. I don't know why. Spicy meatball. He used spicy meatball, and then he used, I think it was like blood or something like that on top of it. And it's just
Blood butter?
rich. No, it's Minotaur's ghost tints.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was using Minotaur ghost tints on top of it. And, you know, it looks really, really great. It's a great finish. And, you know, yeah, you can simply use the white pearly gates. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pearly gates. It's a white metallic, and you can simply add just a bit of that. Add the highlight, or you can just, you know, do a light little edging, and then use like a colored tint on top of it, or you know.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can pretty much treat it like regular paints. And so, for example, if you wanted to shade it down or start off with a darker tone, which I would recommend is starting off with a darker tone and then build up, so that way you're not, you know, laying down the mid-tone and then trying to shade down and then trying to create highlights, and you know what I mean. Whereas if you start at the darker tone, then you can just build up, right? And that way. So for example, like with a color like this, we add, you know, a darker blue or even a black metal. And then it gives us our deeper tones. We apply that as the base coat. Then we use this, build out the rest of the tone, and then add that white metal to this to create the highlights and maybe go 1 or 2 steps up. And
Okay.
you know what I mean? And yeah, but I wouldn't use any other, like I wouldn't use any of the opaque colors to mix with it. Unless of course you wanted to kill a bit of that metallic shine.
Okay.
Right? If you were doing it deliberately. But if you didn't want to do it deliberately, then yeah, that would be the culprit of why it would die on you.
Okay.
And of course, using the matte versions of shade washes and stuff, use the glosses. And what's another one? If you seal it, another fast way of doing it would be if you seal them, like lay the metals down, and wanted to do a quick way of shading it, you could lay the metals down and then apply a gloss coat over the entire model, and then use like an oil paint, and then lay that down into the recess, and then just quickly wipe it away, let it dry, and you'll have that really deep tones into the recesses and stuff like that. And it actually would give you, if you look at pictures of like pewter statues and stuff like that, you know how they oftentimes you get that really contrasty kind of look where you have like that really blackness, but then there'll be like really bright highlights on the surfaces. It'll give you that kind of look, and you know, it's something if you're after, you know what I mean, like something fun. Okay, so bright gold. I'm gonna use metallic bronze, whatever the hell that is.
So what are you going to be testing these on?
I'm gonna test them right on Abaddon. I'm just gonna go for it.
That is the best way to test, by the way.
Yeah, why not?
Like
Right?
just throw it on the
over the
model.
paint.
Just-
Over the paint you already done, or
Just all paint without fear.
Yep.
Yeah.
50-50 odds. Either it'll
Well, I
work
was-
out or it won't. And it's just paint. You can always go
Yeah,
back over
always
it.
straight.
You can always fix it.
Go bigger.
You can
So
always
why
fix
not
it.
try
I'm
to
I'm not married to it or anything like that. I can always fix that.
I was gonna say, why not try it on the wheel
Whatever.
part that's on the base, so we can get like the perfect color of it.
What?
Nope, do it live. I disagree.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm talking
okay.
about
Do the big. You want me to do? Okay, I'll do the big wing. Yeah,
Well,
I'll
I
do,
tried.
He can still do it on the Abaddon.
You still
yeah.
can't do
Oh,
it.
okay, I'll do it on the wing.
Do it on
I
both.
just, I
If
personally enjoy
if
the
it'll
contrary.
unclench
I'm
everybody's
just saying.
ass cheeks, fine. I'll do it on the wing.
Well, you don't.
I was okay with it.
James is the only one putting up a fight.
just
I'm
don't
just saying, he's actually the contrarian right now, not me, for once.
That's what I make sure here.
I just don't want the model moving, you know, get messed up.
I have absolutely but nothing but like the most faith in Chris in making this model
of
look
course.
awesome. It's ye who has little faith. There
Yeah.
Oh, hurtful.
Like the worst one I did was
I had the faith that he was going to be at the table next.
that white. I mean, I painted it, and it's a nice humid day, and it just clumped.
Oh, I know that feeling.
I had that happen to me the other day. I was trying to spray my Hellblasters with Army Painter Wolf Gray.
Nope.
Came out looking like sandpaper, and there was nothing I could do about it.
You basically have to strip and start over. That's what happened when I painted Celestine. Primed her white in Army Painter's white, because I normally use the Army Painter white for Zenithal, but I'm like, I'm painting her armor white, I should prime her in white, you know, save myself the trouble of working it from black to white. Came up like just like chalk on the model.
I think I made it
Strip.
worse though.
What you need
I
to
tried to
do-
file it down.
The first time I did that, mine came out chalky.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's told me with Army Painter paints, turn them upside down. Leave them sitting upside down for a while, then stir them around and then start shaking them.
Alright,
But
well,
you know where they put these?
Oh, those hand them out to these guys.
Yeah, but where do they put them? You keep them?
We'll do. I don't know. We'll throw them in a
We're doing
hat
a
or
raffle.
That's
something.
good, because I've got Army Painter white at home right now that I use for Zenithal highlighting still, because it's
Yeah, we're doing a
white is
raffle. We're
expensive.
gonna do a raffle. You might win
I
something.
hate
Ooh, I never win.
I know. I didn't even know. They
I
said.
have shied away from
Just
it.
look at
based on
yesterday.
price point,
Yeah.
because again, I don't have all the money.
Oh,
in the world.
please.
I
Yeah,
just-
I won
come
against
hit
the
something
Titan
for
and I
Zenithal
threw
from a 45
everything at it and then
me
died in the end.
to spend the money on something that I'm gonna
Yeah.
layer over a bunch of times. So
Yeah, but that's normal.
Where the hell am I?
I've done
Look at her though, she
quite a few
surpassed me in every single way.
The squad of Japanese Zeros, all in white with the Army Painter white, and they've turned out well.
Actually, it's really nice.
I used the Army Painter
You said
red
that was a metallic
to
ink.
base in my
Ye-
back
this
then,
is a metallic
gunmetal
ink,
to
yeah.
base in my melter.
Yeah.
And this is sitting on top of white, which I
Gray is really good,
don't
too.
really
Battle
recommend
ships.
very often, but it seems to be covering pretty good. I can still see some of the primer coming through, but it's not really offending me. So
Maybe we should try it on the
As long as you're not offended, Chris, I'm happy.
I
yeah,
think Chris is totally offended. He's just not letting us
Obviously,
know.
about poop. People are offended by offended people.
Mm,
What'd you say about poop?
People are offended by offended people.
people offended by offended people.
I thought we were
get
gonna start
offended.
flinging poop.
That's what we do as monkeys, de facto.
Exactly.
Bad
The
cookies.
default thing.
my boy did a moment today. I thought was gonna be really kick-ass.
Oh.
He was in the when we were at the art supply place there, and oh, yeah, we were at the art supply place. And,
Gotta cut the recording.
no, no, it paused for some stupid reason.
Oh.
Would have been better if it had paused right now. But
Yeah,
anyways.
pause it right now.
Just
We
cut
can't
it.
have this. We were at Blick's, and you know, like I guess the areas where they have like the lettering and stuff like that, the woodworking letters. Well, he had it hashtag way the brush.
Oh.
But before he could finish it, one of the girls come by and told him, "Hey, you can't be doing that." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And, yeah.
Feign ignorance. Just feign ignorance.
She'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm sorry. I just
I
wanted
didn't
to
know I
put these
could.
up."
I didn't know I could rearrange the letters to a hashtag.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, I didn't know I could do that,
I didn't know if I took 4
But,
eyes, I could make a hashtag.
but I did know. Yeah, I thought that was pretty
He
hilarious.
just turned an A into it.
Friggin'
And he's
guy.
like, ooh, I triggered that bitch.
Yeah. Some kid who thought she was gonna have an easy time working some art supply place.
She was just hoping her Saturday. She just
Yeah,
wanted her
you
Saturday.
triggered every OCD
Just a
she
quick
probably
9 to
had.
5. Next
Yeah.
thing you know it, oh crap,
And
there's
then
some guy
the big
rearranging the
news.
letter.
She just wanted her Saturday to be over already, and it just wasn't happening. We've all been there.
Was she like angry or just like completely done?
Well, Alex described it as she was like,
just shook her head and walked
yeah,
away
she was
and
like,
not happy.
yeah. So, was I in frame for any of that?
You were.
Yeah,
That's
you were,
okay.
you were all in frame.
Okay. So yeah,
Looks promising.
I think it looks really nice.
yeah. I mean, you can still like I did a little bit of a second layer on the feathers, but like the first part here, and I'll pass this around here.
It kind of reminds me of what's it, Balthazar gold.
Yeah, it's about it's.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah, this is about Balthazar gold. That's the gold I was just using there. I also have this other gold here, and I have this other gold. This is really yellow gold.
So many
It's
golds.
like a mustardy.
Yeah, this one here is old brass. This one's kind of fun.
Ooh.
It almost looks silver.
That's a good like
This
black
one's
legion
this
color.
one's
Yeah.
that one's brass.
Some faded brass on
Grass can be
it.
dark.
Oh, and I have the extender
That's true.
too.
That's what he's got to test on the Abaddon.
I didn't try the
Faded
extender.
brass.
Anyway,
Mhm.
I'll try it on the other side. But here, yeah. Let me see if it's dry. Yeah, it's dry.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, like the Black Legionnaires I did, I mixed Gehenna Gold and Lead Belcher together just for fun.
Mhm.
Kind of make a brassy tone out of it. Turned out alright. Like, go for that on starting Black Legion Army right now, but Abaddon came out and then I'm like, oh, I want to collect Chaos Space Marines now. Great.
I mean, hell, I'm with you on that. I wanted to make because of all the new Chaos models. I'm like, I might start a World Eaters Horus Heresy colored army over the summer, and
That's pretty.
I want to. I'm already halfway there. Probably. I got some Berserkers. I've got 13th Company Space Wolves. I can already make Chaos,
Your mind's
and
empty.
I've got the guys from Shadow Spear.
Your
So
mind and body say yes. Your wallet says no.
I mean,
Yeah, my wallet says
it's
no.
been showing.
I just started a Tau army. I can't afford to do a Black Legion army. No.
Just
I
like
think I've got about
Dave.
4 armies, so I ain't gonna say nothing.
I mean, I still got Blood Angels in the box that need to be painted.
No. I'm exercising
Oh, thank you.
self-restraint, not buying anything until Christmas. I have so many.
That's a line.
You're better than most of us.
I'm really trying. I'm really trying, guys.
That's
just
what
give
how
up.
many models he has, so yes.
Yeah, we won't
How
answer
big
that
is your
one.
great pile of shame, Chris?
It's pretty big.
Never
Does it take up 1/3 of your
It
room?
may incriminate him if he answers that question.
Yeah.
Look, I can make everyone feel better. Mine takes up 1/3 of my room. I'm serious.
I mean, doesn't Chris have a whole like room in his house dedicated to just models?
Allegedly.
That's the basement.
The
That's
defense
where he's
rests.
locked throughout most of the day.
Letting him get back to his show.
Anyway, speaking of off topic
This
here.
is how the live streams go, though.
Yeah.
Basically, like
Yeah.
The only thing missing
basically.
was like
Or
Nurgle
more
Bump.
profanity.
yeah, we're missing
But
a
more
little
profanity.
but that's it.
Maybe less. Either one.
depends.
No, as I was going to say about the gold though, with
Mhm.
organic gold, you wanted to like deepen the tone and go for something different. Another one you could have added was like Xer's purple. or Juchi Violet,
Mhm.
and add that purple or even the reds, the dark reds, say like Mephiston Red or something like that, and add that to the gold. And it'll give you a slightly darker tone, and it'll actually give you a bit more of like an old gold. I was just thinking about showing that here with this little bit of gold here. Yeah, that's the gold right there. I was just playing with, and I was going to add a little bit of the purple to it. And now that looks like Gannett gold, right? So this, in theory, should look the same way if you were playing with the Citadel side of things, because again, like it's important to know color theory. And, you know, obviously it's going to help you a lot in the long run as far as a lot of things are concerned. But, you know, because basically when you really are pretty confident in your knowledge of color, no matter what paint line you're in, you know, be it acrylics or, you know, watercolor or what have you, you can always confidently just go, well, if I add red to my metallics here, or if I take red and, you know, gold or whatever, right? You kind of know what your outcomes are going to be, no matter what the paint range is. Well, let's see here.
I kind of wanted to add also for Zach about your Black Legion. I did a lot with for my
Yeah, that's not
more
horrible.
seriously looking guys. I just took Balthazar and I coated it in regular flesh shade. It kind of knacks
Kinda
it
wanna
down
add
a bit, but it gives it like almost like this really
More blue or something
like
like that.
flattish old type of brass color.
It does look
It's,
good. Make it
yeah,
look a
it's
bit
an old
good.
school
Yeah.
Jason shirt, but
Cosmic.
it works pretty well.
Yeah.
See, I like the idea of this purple because in doing all my Blackstone Fortress models, perhaps because I still have like all the good guys, the explorers to do, that'd be a fun thing to do with like the Pope looking guy. 'Cause he looks like a fat Pope. I don't know what
Right,
his name
yeah.
is, but I'm sure he's gonna be covered in gold because anything from the Imperium is covered in gold.
Yeah, no,
Pretty
pretty
much
much.
priest.
No, there's a he
The
looks like a
preacher.
pope or a cardinal,
Oh,
and he's got a big book in his hand. He's got a machine gun that's like off on the side on
Yeah,
his
he's got a
servo
servo
skull.
skull machine gun.
Can't think of his name, but yeah, that would be fun to do.
I don't think this one's a metallic. I don't think we picked up a metallic here.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I think this one's an opaque one. Oh, well, you know what? We'll play with it
That
right now.
bitch who was rearranging the
We'll do
letters.
it right now.
Yeah, it might have been. Ooh, geez, this is thick.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
how thick
God.
it is.
Yikes.
That's a chunky purple.
Yeah.
it looks like you,
Ultramarine blue.
it looks like you used it to butter toast.
Yeah, it is really thick.
It's been sitting
I
on
would
the
not
shelf for a
advise
while.
to butter your toast with
I-
that color, but
No,
I
Yeah,
mean, if
I
your
think-
butter
I
looks
think this
like
one
that,
is an
you
opaque.
might
I think this
be
is
getting
spread
something
butter
else.
fine. Of course.
not
oh
even-
yes.
I think I got debated because this is not even the same paint line.
Uh-oh.
They're the same shaped bottles, but
That's that
Chris, I
one.
believe you got what the technical term is called screwed.
yeah.
What is that one?
You got tricked.
But it's a
really
blue,
Yeah.
and I'm just chucking it into the gold here just to deepen the tone.
It's a bit chunky, but
It's kind of turning almost a little blackish.
Yeah, and it's really more of a dark purpley kind of blue, but you can see how like it's changed it, and it's going almost like I bet you if I added more blue and probably a hint of red, making it a bit more of a purple, it would probably start to look more like tin bits. If you remember what that color looked like.
Oh, I remember those old colors.
Yeah, because
Midnight Blue is
see how
my favorite.
I would make common green.
yeah, see how it's much darker now.
Yeah, considerably.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also still got some of that like glossy type of glaze to it.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting little tone anyway. It'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I picked up a few of these colors. Well, except this one here. Yeah, the purple. I was thinking about doing for Abaddon. Also, I was thinking about this. It should be it's Halo Blue Gold, but it's probably Phthalo Blue. But I call it Halo Blue, and it's this kind of almost like a turquoise or like a deep teal. And it's kind of fun. But yeah. Any other questions? Oh, excuse me. You know what? I'm gonna play with that gold a little bit more.
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
Is that a fox?
That is a fox. That is from Relic Blade.
Ooh.
That's Sean Sutter's game.
Nice.
Yeah. He's here at Adepticon.
I see you went for more of like a yellowish instead of like the white on the mouth and tail.
Yeah. Actually, what I was doing is I was painting like the Firefox logo.
Oh,
I thought so.
So he's got the blue eyes. Yeah, he's got the yellow and
And copyright.
Did you prime that like a taupe to start with? Like a light brown color? Or did you build up from a black prime?
a white.
White prime?
Yeah, I usually prime in a white or a light gray.
Okay.
I don't really recommend a lot of times, unless you're working with metallics, to go with black prime.
Even if you're doing like very dark colors. Like say if I'm using black for like a Black Legion or something.
If you have to get through the model quickly, sure. Like if you're doing a whole bunch of them, sure. But if your goal is to become better at painting and taking a much more controlled approach to your painting, then no. I would recommend you prime with white or light gray. Light gray I prefer for the most part because I find with white prime, especially because you should be working under a bright light, with a white prime I can't see the details. I don't know if that's just an age thing or
Wait,
what.
with white prime or with black prime?
With a white prime. And black prime's kind of the same way too, right? Even under bright light,
It's very tough to see when it's all black.
yeah, it's hard to see details when you do that. But with a gray, and I find the Stanoraz gray, which is kind of hilariously the same shade as the plastic sprues, like from GW.
Oh, that's gotta be a nightmare.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to see where you've primed, which, as I'm always cautioning people not to over-prime their models, and you kind of like, well, where did I prime? I can't see quite, how far.
Good.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of digging how easily this is covering on top of white, though.
It does look nice.
Yeah, like I'm kind of surprised, really. Like I'm this one here, I'm learning at the same time as you guys here, and I'm kind of impressed with how.
Experience for everyone.
Yeah.
First the wagon, now Abaddon.
Yeah. I mean, I can still see some of the prime showing through, but.
I mean, it's only the first coat anyway.
Yeah, but with a first coat, I mean, like if I was trying to quickly get through these,
Yeah.
like that could easily happen with this thing. Where am I here? Yeah. Like the camera, surprisingly, is being very generous and not showing the errors, right? And so, yeah, like you can barely see. Actually, it looks a lot chunkier than. The surface actually looks kind of rough, doesn't it?
Yep.
I wonder if that actually is there. No. It's the way the camera's making it look, the way the light's playing on the
The
surface.
camera's trying to ruin your reputation.
No, well, you know what I think it is? Is it probably could be this bumpy, but because of the way we see the metallics, that more of the lustrous microflakes are, we're kind of filling in the gaps visually. Whereas the camera's a single lens looking at it, right? So yeah, I bet you that's why, like, it probably is this chunky, but we don't perceive it that way. Because, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Interesting, anyway. I'm kind of digging the color. So, the main reason for picking these up was I wanted to do some interesting shading and such on Abaddon, especially with the purples and the teal, whatever it calls, phthalo blue. It's halo blue. It's probably phthalo blue because phthalo blue has a green tone to it, but yeah. Anyway. Anything else? Let's just try.
If you were wanting to highlight like white scars, what would you suggest with that, since they're already set stark white?
With white scars, I often recommend working from a base of Celestra Gray or Ultran Gray.
Okay.
And then basically, like, it's another step, but taking, so for example, if you went to say Celestra Gray, which is, it's kind of on the dark side, but if you want to say keep them kind of bright, you can go with Ultran Gray, and then take Celestra Gray, turn it into a shade wash, and apply it over that Ultran Gray, and then edge everything in white. And that will,
scar.
yeah, and come in with white scar and just re-edge in pure white.
Okay.
And that would be a fast way of getting that done. Basically with white scars, and you see it a lot with the GW models, is that the model really isn't a pure white.
Okay.
Because you'll see those edge highlights, those are pure white.
Okay.
And the rest of the armor is most likely
Like
Ultron
just a
gray.
slight off.
Yeah, and Ultron gray is a really good one because it gives you a cool white, which typically white scars are done in, versus a warm white, which is sort of like, kind of like 30K Death Guard, right? It's kind of that really light bone color.
So what
And
would
that,
you, sorry,
what?
I was gonna say, what would you recommend the same thing for like if I wanted the world leaders in the heresy color with the white?
Yeah, the world leaders and the heresy colors, yeah, because in the vault I do have all 18 of the 30K chapters done. Yeah, so doing all the various colors and doing all their color schemes and stuff, and so yeah. And I'm pretty sure for world leaders and the white scars, it was the same technique. Space Wolves was a dark gray. I'm trying to think who else was a light color scheme. Death Guard is a bone color.
Did you do Imperial Fist?
I did Imperial Fist. I think I did them in
Probably.
an orange, I think orangey yellow. Because there's the two ways you do them, right? Either a brownie kind of color or
Yes.
orange. And I'm pretty sure I did them in an orange.
So I had a little bit of trouble starting out with yellow. I primed white, and then actually mixed fire orange and yellow, which made it really bright, and then started building up with a medium yellow, and then slowly transitioning up into a bright sun yellow, and then glossing it, and then dull coating it back down to get the yellow color right. But it still looked a little chunky on the first go round.
Mm.
But I heard that it's better actually with lighter colors to airbrush than actually use a paint, like actual brush. Am I incorrect in that?
No, you're not incorrect. Oftentimes when we are building up colors, especially when we're using like yellows, like bright colors, when we want colors to be bright, you're right into using a white prime. Because if you went with a typical, because a lot of people prime their models black, and then want to go for a bright color scheme, it just doesn't work. Going with the orange mixed into the yellow and then slowly building up, you could end up laying too many layers down, and that could have been where it might felt a little bit too heavy. Also too, laying down nice thin base coats, using thinners and such, and applying one or two thin layers. Your first initial layer, you'll probably still see some of the material show through, but that's fine because you're going to apply another thin layer, right?
Right.
The other important thing is when you're doing that is to alternate your brush strokes. So for example, we're doing this, for example, and I was going like left to right with the brush strokes, right? Well, with the next one, I would go north-south.
Okay.
And
I was not doing that.
and then if I was going to do a third layer, because I'm working in thin colors, I would go back to a left to right again.
Okay.
And so basically what that's doing is it's creating a lattice work on that surface, right? So imagine your brush strokes, right? Kind of like, those Chinese rock gardens, right? Or Japanese rock gardens, excuse me. And, yeah, you know how like when you're moving the rake through and you leave all those little hills and valleys, right? Well, when you imagine that brush's surface moving across, it's doing that same thing. It's raking that surface and it's leaving those, and it's microscopic, but where that really becomes noticeable is when you dry brush. Because when you dry brush, you're moving that surface and you're catching all those hills and valleys and you're catching just the tops. So when somebody has a really chalky looking dry brushing, oftentimes because the paint, that base coat has heavy brush strokes. Whereas if you can apply your base coat in a nice smooth fashion, when it comes to dry brushing, your dry brushing actually will almost look like airbrush. It'll be very light and the blends will be very subtle. So when you're creating that lattice work on that surface, right, it's, going this way, and then of course your next layer is going like that, and then of course it's going like that, right? And so effectively what that's doing is creating a smooth surface, as well as you could with a brush, right? Short of using any materials that have a self-leveling quality to them. But oftentimes those are very soft-bodied, very thin-bodied paints, and they'll have that self-leveling quality where they'll spread out, and you know what I mean. But most like Citadel colors and stuff like that don't. Even thin-bodied paints like this don't. So and like I love these colors, but they don't do everything like that. Like I don't know if there is a paint that, like a water-based acrylic, that will have that kind of quality that will just settle over everything, right? Tamiya's, I find, will sometimes do that, but I still have trouble with not having brush strokes behind with the clear colors and stuff like that, and it's always kind of annoying. So I always end up just going to the airbrush and apply it, and doing it in a smooth coat. But yeah, so doing your base coat in that fashion will reduce your brush strokes and will stop it from being chunky. Now, if you were doing a yellow scheme like that, I probably would go with the mid-tone yellow first as my base color, and I probably would have took that slightly deeper orange tone, made that a shade wash, and then either deliberately applied it into the recesses or just broadly applied it over to the model, and then dry brushed that highlight over, and then just edged with a bright yellow, and gone for something like that. And in fact, I don't even know if that's what I showed for the Imperial Fist, but I mean, that was 2 years ago I created that series, and it was a while ago.
I haven't stumbled across that video yet, so that's why I was.
Yeah, so that one is it's in our vault. I think a few of them got posted onto YouTube. I can't remember, but anyway. But yeah, so if you're ever checking them out, yeah, and you just type in probably 30K Marines, or but it was all within the Quick Tip series, and it was like the span of like 4 months. I did all 18 chapters, and some of them like I didn't bother showing, like for example, like, I think a few of them, like I didn't bother showing like the bolter casings, because for like a white scar it was going to be a red. Well, I had shown doing red casings like a few other videos past, and so in some instances there might be gaps like that because I have already shown it, and there's typical fashions in which these models get painted, right? Oftentimes, with a dark armor, we go with a brighter casing, and so there are some typical conventions that carry over to other color schemes, and I didn't feel like it was really necessary to, but I go over some fun stuff like freehanding icons, and like for Emperor's Children, doing like the filigree and things of that nature, just fun stuff. What was I gonna do?
I feel like I'm hogging the show.
No, go right ahead. I mean, a lot of these guys, they ask their questions all the time, and if you let them talk, they're just gonna ask something stupid anyway. So,
How do we paint a red line?
how do we paint a red line with a brush?
How do we paint a brush?
What kind of brush? A bristle brush.
The bristliest.
The bristliest of brushes.
I do want to see that withered bronze though.
The withered bronze.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it's almost got like a silverish type of tint to it.
Yeah, the tone of this paint.
Actually changing the light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, it has like this darky green color.
Yeah.
And in fact,
First it looked
It looks almost like worn brass or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Well, this
metal.
yeah, this one is called Old Brass.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Here we go.
But scale 75, it is called Necron Gold or Necrotic Gold or something like that. It's kind of this browny green tone within the paint. But yeah, this is a lot of fun.
That's one of my favorite armies I've painted is Necrons.
Yeah.
Do you paint them up all silver like the standards, or do you do a different type of dynasty?
I started doing silvers, and then I actually started mixing silvers and golds together.
Nice.
So I've got silver, and then the ones that have armor are all gold armor with a bright. I actually used gloss Rockland flesh shade in the gold capes and things like that, and they're gold weapons.
I want to see how that would look with the Abaddon actually, because I feel like that would go very well with like the gold.
Let's see. Let's go back to his claw here. Let's go back to his claw. Where am I here? So I had already laid down some gold there the other day, but I'm gonna lay this gold right on top because I want to see.
Do 2 golds over each other.
Well, if you recall, I only laid 1 layer down.
That's true.
And now it's kind of hard to tell if I am actually laying it down. No, it does look a lot.
Darker.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I can see a bit of a difference.
There's a slight difference.
Very subtle.
Yeah, it is very subtle.
Maybe it dries differently.
It's a subtle transition.
Yeah.
It is. It's very subtle.
I've had that happen before. When you put it down, it looks really good, and then it dries, and it goes really bright or
different
really
color.
dark. You're like,
Yep.
"You tone it down."
When did that turn to tomatoes?
Exactly.
And I think I painted that area. Oop, spit now. I think I painted that area where it should have stayed black. Oops. Uh-oh. Can you guys still see everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely liking these golds. These are fun. And, you know, like I've said many times, I mean, don't be afraid to venture off into other paint lines.
Just a bit off camera, Chris.
Is it off camera?
Yeah.
Only a bit slightly.
Yeah.
You know, just going into other paint lines, you know, just make sure that, you know, if you're painting with watercolor or water-based acrylics, make sure you get paints that are, you know, water-based acrylics. Is somebody trying to pick the lock at the door?
I thought I saw someone like open it before quickly. I thought it was Matt.
He's been a ghost, man. He hasn't been on Discord. Like, I'm worried Chris like harmed him. I'm worried Chris
gave
caused
me a
some
few
form of
lickies during the
trauma.
fight.
Talked to
So-
like, practicals and stuff. He's actually, I'm not sure if you know, he has a job now. So he's just been tired and bit.
No, I mean
breaking
this
up,
weekend he's been very quiet because when you guys were dropping up, he kept talking about how you guys were dropping up and all that stuff, and then the game happened, and then like radio silence.
I won't lie, he did seem like a little bit unsettled, like almost kind of salty this morning.
Well, to be fair, he was both the GM and Chris's enemy, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you're gonna be staring down the barrel of Chris's Seer Council,
Oh my.
insert expletive before if you choose. Do as you will. You know,
I took
I'm all for it. I'm a filthy Xenos as well.
I just sat there
I took my
saying,
chances against Orcs and Sun instead of Chris, so.
I just sat there
I
saying,
think it was
oh
the
Lord,
better
I'm going to
option.
death guard, they're not dying to my firepower. Hiding corner.
Perfect.
And then they left. But technically, pure victory.
I was actually surprised to see some Tau armies actually playing competitively.
Did you see those cosplaying Tau
I
guys?
did.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Really good.
Yeah.
And
A lot of
they had the
portraits,
diorama
too.
too set up with the Nurgle Titan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a shot with the Nurgle Marine walking around today.
I
and
saw
I
that.
think I got a picture of him actually.
Yeah.
I saw that.
He totally disappeared by the time I wanted to,
Did you
yeah,
see
to,
the,
to see
He
him.
was upstairs playing. I can't remember what game they were playing now, but they were playing up there for a while.
Oh yeah.
I saw when they
You know what?
went
I did
up
venture
there.
upstairs. I
the
probably should.
person who was the Demon Prince last year actually came this year as a Sororitas.
Oh
They
yeah.
had the Flamer and the Eviscerator. No, I think it was an Eviscerator because it was pretty big. He had like a 7-person just carrying it for them.
It all seemed like a bunch of the mini wargaming crew this year. Far more than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was quite a few.
Josh.
The only people that didn't come was Dave and Rob and Mike.
Okay.
Those are the only two
I
that
don't
didn't.
think so. One of those three.
I saw Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron was here.
Steve in the mold.
And I didn't see Steve. I saw Josh. I saw Colin.
Steve's actually stayed at the hotel that they
Yeah.
are.
I'm staying at the
Nice.
same hotel.
Excuse me.
Call him.
What was his last name?
I don't know Aaron's last name. I
Aaron
just
Siege.
know all the mini wargaming crew.
Aaron, last name? Cotter.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
Wait, is that
Or
the same-
Cotter.
Is that Aaron?
Oh,
Siege?
Yeah,
Steve?
Connor.
Cotter.
Yeah.
It's Siege.
I had Steve
It's
break.
just I only know Chris's last name and Matt's last name. And I don't know why I know Matt's last name, but I somehow do know Matt's
I
last
gave
name.
Steve
I
a
don't
minor.
think I know anyone's last name besides Chris's. And even then, I can't say it right.
Because it's like, hey, you're friends with these two people.
What do you mean you can't say my last name
I
right?
say it like the bear from the Jungle Book. I go Baloo.
It's Bello. Isn't it?
Bello, I think.
God damn it, kid.
Like
It's
Bello.
Bello. Just Bello.
the Bello necessities.
He's just it's
Like-
clear he's south of the border.
Clear.
Who, me or him?
Me?
Him in particular, but Grimm's a little bit more worldly.
Farsighters, Africa, like, for sure. Africa's nice.
That's what I mean.
I'm
Rob's,
close.
Rob's worldly. Like
I'm
he's
closer
been
to you.
places.
Backpack across Denmark.
See, backpack across Denmark.
I'm sheltered, okay?
You are sheltered.
Hey,
I barely got to
I
leave
don't
the
think-
sleep.
Grim, you
Barely got to
sound
leave the
like you're
state.
freaking bragging here, is what's going on.
I know. It gives Rob the opportunity to like humble brag, like, oh, like Denmark was okay.
It was alright going and
It was
sitting
nice in the summer, but you know.
visiting the Scottish Highlands in like the winter was a nice touch, but yeah, it's nothing compared to the German winters. Staying in the Great Berlin.
That's not my intentions, I swear.
I know. But you do sometimes humble brag about that wonderful Florida weather that you have.
No,
Screw you.
I do that to be sarcastic. 'Cause
I know you do.
I have friends in England, up north, in Canada.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll cut you.
It's like,
It's like,
I've had it where it was like 30-degree weather for me, and he's like, oh, it's a nice 60 down here, and I'm like,
It's a-
yeah, well, why don't you take
it's a
that 60
balmy
and shove it?
It's a balmy 75 out. I'm like, 3 foot of snow outside.
It's -1, I can feel my legs.
Yeah.
it's not, it's like 80 degrees for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't
And it's
talk
like you're
to me.
sitting outside getting a nice tan.
To be fair, there's been multiple times where Rob's come on and be like, water's a real problem. I'm like, well, at least I got frozen water as opposed to the flood waters.
Yeah.
Water's been a real problem lately. Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
I'm on the high ground.
I'll take
4
it.
weeks
You are
straight
on the
water
high
in
ground, as I
Georgia.
recall.
It was crazy.
I think that windy enough for I got blown against a palm tree one thing when I was
I
there.
think our dry
Uh-huh.
was literally under
That's fun.
water
Yeah.
for about 3 weeks.
Oh,
We haven't had something that bad yet on Long Island, but we did have a tornado, I think, like maybe, God, it's been so long ago now.
We don't have anything.
It was
Oh,
from
we had that tornado.
back in like
a couple years ago
elementary.
that
It
hit near my
freaking
work.
destroyed
true.
almost like
We had a
half the
tornado that
place.
hit your
And
work.
it
Yeah.
That
it
really,
almost
like,
hit a.
poured home. So
Actually,
looked
it
at
almost
building
hit a
and that's
reactor.
it. Somehow missed my work. I don't
Or
know.
not a reactor, I'm sorry, a collider. It was either a collider or a reactor or something. Or no, that was the wildfire.
I would say probably the reactors, or not the reactor, but yeah, nuclear reactor.
It was something very dangerous that if it got hit, but no, it was during the wildfire that it was going towards it, and the firefighters were like literally, all right, screw everywhere else, just defend that area. But we're getting off topic. Back to painting.
No, I'm just sitting here painting. Listening to you
You
guys.
misunderstand. We get off topic. That's our job.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's literally
Sorry, yeah,
what we do.
Let's go further down this.
No,
All right,
just
all right,
screen chat.
Zach, what do you have to say?
What I have to
They
say
get
about
real off topic.
wildfires? I don't know. Don't.
Only you can prevent it.
Yeah, only you.
And I mean only you, Zach. We can't. We don't have any say. It's you only.
Look, Smokey's an American thing. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
You know,
What you don't got like what's it? Moosey? No, we don't have
Moosey.
the Canadian wildlife.
We don't
Moose.
have Moosey the
It's actually a
moose
bastard.
Moosey.
Fire prevention there.
Because they don't have to be
creature.
told not to play with matches in the woods.
you know, Smokey is based on a.
All right, so I laid down that
Sorry.
that old brass, and then I threw in this phthalo blue gold, which is phthalo blue, which is you know, it's essentially green,
Mhm.
right? So I threw that in. Tried to get mostly a like a close to a 1-to-1. That was more like a that's probably more like a 1-to-1. That's probably more like a 2 old brass to the phthalo blue.
Pretty green.
Yeah, so I tried to keep it in that green tone because
Oh.
the initial color of that is kind of has that slightly brown
Yeah.
green kind of tone to it.
Mhm.
And then I threw that just into like the recesses of the armor, like just into like around the bolt head and around some of the lines.
That would look good because the Talon of Force is obviously not Abaddon, so
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely more
having
withered and
stolen
stuff.
it from his Primarch.
Yeah,
Whoops.
I mean, would you say it was stolen when literally the Primarch who had it was completely disintegrated from existence?
Stolen. Thievery.
yeah.
He's not a magpie.
That's chaos too.
He's not a blood. He's not a blood raven.
Not a Blood Raven, but he definitely stole it.
Because I reckon just
Um,
rediscovery.
It's going to go off topic, but did you know though the Blood Ravens actually stole a relic from the Death Guard that was on the Eisenstein?
I don't
Somehow
know.
it was in Dawn of War 2. It's
The Blood Ravens are hilarious.
like we were trying to come up with a scenario of how it happened, and I was like, they got flung through time and decided to pull a Grand
doesn't
Heist
even
and replace
matter.
it.
Doesn't even matter. The Blood Ravens are like one of my favorite chapters simply by the fact that they just steal everything.
Yeah, you gotta lock the reliquaries and bolt down everything.
It's a relic of the chapter. It's not a relic
It was
of
a
the
gift.
chapter. It is now.
You
The
didn't
chapter
need that.
decided it was a relic. All
You
right.
didn't need that anyway. They're gonna steal the Emperor's sword next.
Yeah.
Space pirates.
I'll stick to space elves, man. Like, not enough fluff to worry about us being thieves in that regard, other than pirates. Shop always good.
Yeah, but I mean, you got the free blues doing the same thing like that.
That's true.
But that means your pirates are more like enslaving pirates.
Space elves make very bad impressions of Space Pope.
Do they?
Oh God, your Dark Heresy story.
Oh,
Chris, you're gonna want to hear this.
Ooh.
The Dark Heresy story.
I'm gonna say hold the presses and look at that color,
Oh,
because
jeez.
That looks nice.
That's like
Yeah.
really green.
Yeah.
It kind of almost looks like what happens when like copper gets oxidized.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
It's a lot darker.
So we're just trying to lay it on smooth, but I'm not being terribly careful here.
It's only a hobby.
Oh, you know what I should have done? I was try out the extender here.
I think that's the third time you said that.
I know, well, because I keep forgetting.
Chris, I think this
There's
is an
shiny-
excellent opportunity
shiny
to
things.
try the extender.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll try.
Wait,
the
are we gonna
extender.
try an extender?
You know what? Let's try the extender.
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it
I'm
a
in
go.
favor.
We'll watch the extenders just white paint.
Wait,
Just
hold
got
on.
them the
Is
wrong
this the
thing.
Harlequin? Okay, you did tell me the story. You did tell me the story about the Harlequin who convinced.
But did Chris hear it?
I don't think Chris heard it.
Chris, did you hear about the Harlequin?
No.
Basically, in
Rune's
short,
Harlequin friend.
my guy is like a crusade, like a battle priest, and merged him to talk to the local priests. Now there's a Harlequin in our group, which my guy's too dumb to figure out was a Harlequin because he's somehow barely literate or something. We don't really talk about it. And he dressed up as more or less a cardinal, so I can be like, oh, you don't know, seem to know too much about the ecclesiarchy here. I gave him this entire holy book. Read this over, and they asked, what position are you? It's like, you've been reading that book for like literally 4 hours. How did I come up with some random title? You can literally just say priest and it's a title.
I'm
After,
Space Pope.
after that, we're almost got killed. So we just left. Of course, it didn't help that they were trying to give us necklaces made of soul stones. That did not please the Harlequin.
Oh, jeez. It almost made me wonder, because there was that theory about the Night Haunter's crown having a soul stone in it. And I think it was Janus or something.
Oh.
Not the Grey Knight, but it was a Night Haunter named Janus who was trying to seek the crown and it fell into the Underhive and chased after it.
I heard-
Like,
I think I
if
heard.
it was a soul stone and he put it on, would he actually start to become possessed by the Night Haunter? Like, would he just pretty much be like, because there was a thing with the, where a human wore the soul stone, like something with a soul stone on it, and it had an Eldar spirit in it, and the Eldar started to like slowly possess the mind of the human.
Oh. Yeah, I think I
Like, so it made me think, like, if the Night Haunter's crown did have a soul stone in it, could the Night Haunter technically come back?
I don't know. I just be the guy who saying beep boop and rope would go away.
You would think so.
That's like Ferris Bueller.
No.
You boop and become robot. You boop Snoop.
Snoop?
You boop this pet is with the future.
Did the army face my last stuff?
I've actually started buying up stuff to start sylvan up army, speaking of
Ooh.
things I don't need to start.
You gotta remind me, because I know that's Sigmar, right?
Yeah, Sigmar.
Yeah.
What army are they? Because I don't really know too many of the Sigmar stuff.
You still left your pit?
They're part of the order, I think, is what they're called.
Are they like the elf type of people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the tree ones, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
the tree
yeah.
guys.
The dryad type.
Yes.
Well,
I know
that's
Chris
my
is doing the fish people.
Yeah.
Not the Tau, the other fish people.
Yeah.
The deep-
Whatever, some Adepticon or something
Yeah.
to that effect.
Oh, you're
I
working
look-
on this, Chris?
I looked at those also, but
I don't know. I think I'd want to go with either Corn or the Dwarves.
What was that?
Did you say you were working on the
Dwarves are cool.
Adepticon?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I already have the turtle, and I just got the
That's a sweet.
the
It
get
almost
started
made me
box.
buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the girl of the beetle is what took me. I've seen the way it's getting painted, and then I've seen a couple more examples on the table today of the girl riding the beetle, and that thing's just awesome.
Yeah, that's
The
awesome.
I just can't remember her last name. The Everqueen. I can't remember.
Yeah, Ariel.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, she's really cool. And that when that model first came out, and like, that was when I started to really kind of get into metallics and stuff. I was like,
Yeah, there was somebody that had a black.
Yeah.
'Cause it looked kind of like your Abaddon. It looked black, and then when I walked by it, the sheen turned silver the whole way down the front of the horn. I had to walk back a few times.
Was it like the like how some of those cars now have like the transitional color thing, where it's like a different lighting, it just completely changes color?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like all the color shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's going crazy with color shift these days.
That just seems like
I don't know. Whatever happened to just standard color?
Well, the Beetle, if you look
No, I
at an
just
actual
I
rock,
just
like
think
rhinoceros
on the
tail
car.
like that is.
So the car seems like it just messed with you.
You're someone else.
Yeah.
Who the hell just broke
One
it?
doesn't make much more sense.
It's just a filthy
My
sound.
Subaru is that way. It looks brown
Oh,
in one line,
damn, sleepy
white in
on
another, and
those.
then green in another. It's according to which way the light's hitting.
Were you shirking me?
I'm not even afraid when I'm playing this. So the extender here, for this anyway, is not, it seems like it adds more body to the ink.
So what do you mean by that? Like it's just kind of.
It's getting it.
bold?
It's thicker.
Bolder.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit thicker.
Is
I
that-
can, it feels like I can play with it more, but otherwise, yeah, it's making it feel more like a paint.
In this case, is that something you'd want or no?
No.
Not really.
Because
Okay.
like,
I
ink's
was-
supposed to be flowing, right?
Yeah. And I was liking the way it was flowing before. But what it is doing is it's making it like thinner. So like, you can kind of see in these spaces here. There's
So it's
no-
almost like blending it, but still like making it stronger at the same time.
Yeah, it's just
I shouldn't say stronger, heavier.
yeah. Like when I was playing with it on the palette here, it was. I see here. Like see, I was going right through. And you can see how, like, you can see the under, like, there's that blue underneath there from the previous color I was playing with. And, yeah, you can see how I can wipe the color away.
Oh wow. No,
Yeah.
That before.
Yeah, and you can see how there's quite a bit on my brush now, right?
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, so it's, see how it more like paint now.
Mhm. Okay.
Rather than before it was flowing a bit more like an ink. Oh, you slimy dog.
So I heard a beep.
Yeah. No, you know what? I think the camera has died. That's what it is.
Wait, you've been recording this the entire time?
Oh, besides
Crap, he's got confessions.
No,
The way it was locked in the
what
closet.
time are we at here?
Uh,
Oh, it's almost midnight.
Oh crap, really?
Oh, okay. Well, I
Just
guess.
like the real shows. They almost went
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Except they'll probably come in here, kick us out here in a few. Because what was the other night? There, they were like,
Really?
"Are you done?" Or I was,
Oh my god.
Yeah, so there's like 20 minutes, and then we're like,
Yeah.
They're just
holy
like,
moly.
you gonna get out yet?
Yeah, you done yet? Yeah.
45
worry
minutes
about it.
past the end of the show time. Wow, look at that. Time flies.
What do you know? We haven't even done a
One
single
more-
email yet.
One more email to go.
One email to go. We'll start the first.
Was there any other questions?
It's very informative on, honestly.
Did you feel this informative at all?
I did, yes.
And somewhat entertaining?
Yes, but of course.
I do this every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. If you go to wayofthebrush.com, you'll find all the links to all this stuff. I have all sorts of social media. There's also another one, Discord, where
Most popular.
basically, yeah, we hang out there a lot, and it's a voice chat. I don't know if you've ever used Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked for friends in Europe and things of that nature.
Okay,
Be warned
there
if
you
you
go.
go on our Discord.
Yeah.
What's
I
that?
said you be warned if you go on our Discord.
Yeah,
Well-
it's no holds barred.
Me and Rob are
And-
normally there almost like every day.
Yeah,
I've been
And
being
s-
Grim the Eternal Watcher because I'm always watching at the right time, apparently.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
God, I forgot you had business cards made up.
I know. I brought a whole bunch and I didn't fucking lay
You haven't
any out.
handed out a single one
I
yet?
haven't handed out a single one.
You don't get business cards?
Black, and the thing is, like, they're black business cards. Like, this man means business.
Yeah.
You know it.
No,
Yeah.
Chris, obviously, you just go on the
Real
balcony and just
See
start
what it
chucking
is,
into
is-
it.
That's what you gotta do tomorrow, Chris. You just go to every booth and just hand out your card. Like, don't even talk to anyone. Just like throw the card at
Just
them.
hand it
Just
out,
walk
yeah.
away.
Okay, cool. Well, I think, yeah, because I think we're done because this is supposed to end at 12,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We got 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Everybody has to
Everybody?
take a ticket though.
Oh, right,
Oh.
tickets, yes.
Buy the tickets.
Oh, right.
Well,
So,
Chris, we'll pick one wants to be the lucky.
Everybody got tickets or?
Nope.
Not gonna
Handing
look,
them out.
not gonna look blind grab.
Don't get to wear this.
You picked 5.
Blind grab.
It's early.
Because you guys are,
Oh wow.
you're gonna win. I think I still have my camera rolling. You guys are gonna win this hobby holder.
Okay.
This is from
You could double check.
Game Envy Creations.
6. I would have preferred an 8. This Cord wants it.
And I don't know where you want to.
No, I don't want 6.
A Bones
Oh, put them in a glass or
mini here. Some sort of vampire thingy.
The gargoyle.
Gargoyle.
This
What is this?
This is a monster.
Ooh, this is Arena Rex. Arena Rex model.
What's that?
Ooh, yeah, this is a
May I ask what that is? Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow. That thing.
yeah. It's a nice little Arena Rex model. So that's so painting thing, which it's got the drink bottle thing. Oh,
Yeah,
right, you put the
they're bottle
It goes
caps.
on
put
top
the-
of it.
that's
See,
pretty-
someone was thinking when they made that.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we have something to?
glass, I guess.
The
Glass it
Kickstarter,
is.
they
I
were
was
only
looking for like a
Put it in Eldari's beer bottle.
Yeah.
No.
Should we just
No, not that one. The empty
Oh,
one.
the empty one. Okay. I was,
One
like,
is a 4 empty
Yeah.
ones. Jesus Christ.
I was like, I've just been progressively drinking more and more.
Have you been heavily drinking this much already?
Put your tickets in there.
I'm having a great time. let me tell
Which
you.
ones?
Half.
Wine.
Yeah, chuck a
Like,
juice box of wine.
Lengthwise, not.
Something you only get in America.
I don't know what to
I mean, if you
Yeah.
tear it the wrong way, your chances of winning are actually cut in half.
No, it might be better because then he just counts those
Sewer-
numbers.
Sewer yourself.
The group would put how you look at it. We'd do it twice.
I'm kind of scared. I think you dropped 2 of the same one.
You have
You
two
did.
of the same number.
No. I'm good. 2 different.
It's like rolling dice,
Oh.
basically.
Exactly.
All right, Chris, roll that 3 up safe, or else Matt wins.
Pepper sticker rules. They ran out fighting it. They ran out already.
Well, you know what happens. Like
Well,
I said, we
thank
filled some of
God.
the shortbread, so we still have some
I'll
more.
send you 2 or 3 batches of sticker noodles.
He actually gave my sister a bag of cookies. I'm probably gonna steal those from her
Well, there you go.
because she doesn't need them,
Snickerdoodles, yeah.
and they're delicious.
Here
Am
we
I
go.
doing it all as one, or do you get? Yeah, we'll do it all as one, right?
Might as
No,
well.
I'll do this so then.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
so much.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll do it all as one.
Okay.
We get a nice big grand prize, right?
Ooh.
So, okay.
Not 3 prizes,
So-
no runner-ups.
It is 604321.
Ah, I was so close.
You?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Looks like I'm paying all out of those by myself.
Are you now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Nothing's for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
She's gonna
stuff I
sell
don't
back
have
to
to do
vendors.
with
Well, there you go. You win.
it. Perfect.
Well, now you have to paint them. With the
That's what I
handles.
told them.
And you know what? They will be an excellent addition to the Saturday show.
This is
No
what I
pressure.
painted for school. Perfect.
Everybody's got to have their first model.
No,
You've got more
exactly.
than enough paints,
And-
trust me.
And
Exactly.
that model, the big one there, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
They got some really interesting sculpts from that company. And,
The game's
Yeah, I
pretty
picked up 2
interesting.
today.
have you played it?
Actually, I think they have
Every
some of
time
those
I walk
at the
by,
store.
The demo's been really
It's
busy.
bigger,
I've
so I
watched
think I
others
could
play
paint that a
it. It's
little
got
bit
some
better.
potential, but
You could.
it looks like it needs a little tweaking.
The bigger the better
Yeah.
for this.
The models are really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Help me.
I see the one fella.
In the
he's
summer?
the
Let's
chief
do it.
one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Really cool.
You know what's
They got
interesting?
lions and rhinos and all kinds
It's
of good
almost got
stuff.
pewter
It's
and
good
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that sometimes.
Heresy.
Alrighty, dudes. I'm sending it here.
Heresy.
So,
Wait, Peter.
good show.
plastic?
Thank you.
Pewter and plastic, yeah.
Thank
It's been a
you.
while
Thank you
since I've
guys.
seen pewter and plastic combined together in a kit.
God.